Hi there, my name is Caitlin Scholl, and this is my final presentation on the work I've been doing with the Nativity-Miguel Coalition. To start off, I want to talk about the Coalition's mission and why it's important. The Coalition's goal is to provide quality education to underserved and low-income communities. Prior studies have shown that living in poverty has detrimental impacts on academic achievement. Wealth inequality has created an educational opportunity gap for low-income families at all stages of education. Education is a key way to escape poverty and gain economic independence, and this is why NMC's mission is so important. By providing access to quality education, we can improve academic outcomes and have a direct, positive impact at the center of a student's education and career. The Coalition has demonstrated how to improve our education system. The Nativity-Miguel Coalition is a national nonprofit network of 49 middle schools across the United States and Canada, with a school model built on principles including providing a faith-based education, tuition-free or minimal tuition with free and reduced lunch programs, extended school programs, summer sessions, and long-term graduate and financial support for their middle school students. When equipped with data-driven decisions and best practices, the Coalition and its schools are enabled to break the cycle of poverty one student at a time. And they have been successful in their schools with wide outreach, outperforming other public schools and even national averages as referenced by this year's data. This year, 95% of students graduated high school after attending an NMC middle school, as compared to the national average of 78% for schools that serve low-income families. 64% of NMC graduates go on to post-secondary schools with a 2- or 4-year college program. Given this performance, it is imperative for these schools to study their methods and distribute their successes across the network. This application aims to help each school use data to drive their schools and programs forward by viewing historical data. This is how we solve the educational inequality gap. With this application, 100% of schools will receive insights focusing on their school data and graduate support program. Each NMC school has a graduate support program that effectively tracks, supports, and mentors students once they have graduated from school, ensuring each student's success in high school and beyond. If we look at Nativity Worcester, an all-boys middle school, they proudly present that their middle school students go on to graduate high school with a 95% graduation rate, as compared to 75% for male students from low-income homes. 87% of Worcester graduates go on to attend a 2- or 4-year college program, and 70% of the graduates who attended a 4-year college program in 2015 completed their degree 4 years later in 2019. This is compared to the national 6-year college graduation average of 24% for college students from low-income families. These metrics are very similar to the performance of the Coalition and represent just one individual story. If enabled by data, they can continue to set the bar higher. With this application, my goal has been to surface more information than ever in a dynamic, customizable way. Using visualization best practices, design thinking, and the latest tools and technology, we can replace Excel spreadsheets and static visuals with dynamic, filterable, and interactive charts in a reporting format with Tableau and RShiny. My first step towards creating this application was design thinking, and to do that I needed to start with the emphasize process to observe and learn as much as possible. Coming into this, I had no experience in the school domain. I received a survey with over 70 questions worth of data to dive into. My process was to research the Coalition to learn their mission, review their existing reports, and meet regularly. This directly tied into the Engage process. I met weekly with Daniel Perez, the executive director of the Coalition, to learn directly from him about the project and ask prompting questions and listen to pain points. Finally, I wanted to immerse myself in the diverse perspectives to create an application that serves multiple schools. So I researched individual school websites to learn their story, I read about the Coalition, and I listened to interviews about the Coalition to learn about its mission and its work. The key findings were that NMC has a wide range of data that hasn't all been effectively used before. They have an overwhelmingly manual process to create over 40 plus reports for individual schools and a mission measurement report without interactive, filterable data. Finally, I also learned about the Coalition model and its successes, and learned that every school has highlighted their data on their website and has an individual story to share. The next step in the process was the define stage. Here I needed to organize my observations into insights and needs. This translation helped me separate key takeaways like that NMC schools are collectively strong and use this data for funding and best practices, and concrete ideas such that there needs to be a less manual process with interactions, filters, and data that's displayed in the best format possible with coalition averages. I also created a question grid to prompt specific questions when working with the coalition, and this was super helpful to generate a wide range of questions that I otherwise may not have thought of. Overall, this process aided in my understanding of the data, the coalition, and the overall vision. The next step in the process was to ideate on past observations and key requirements. I used my immersion perspectives to create a point of view statement from the school leadership perspective, focusing on the historical performance of the graduate support program and how we can use this data to obtain funding and drive decisions. Ideas generated were to have an overview page that encourages data collection and using the tool, to incorporate the Tableau report to compare current school data with historical data, and to generate coalition data with historical averages, something that hasn't been done before. During the prototype portion, it was time to put all of my knowledge and ideas into practice. I used a free tool called Draw.io to create the wireframes for my application that covered the layout and content. I knew from previous findings I wanted to have an upload functionality and also create something that could live on and didn't need to be updated manually behind the scenes. The second screenshot is the overview page. This idea came from the Define and Ideate sessions with Daniel. He wanted the schools to have encouragement to use this application. The last screenshot is what a sample dashboard would look like with charts and filters and would be similar to the Tableau report for consistency purposes. Testing was the final phase. We repeated a lot of this design process along the way and ended with user testing in the form of live demos with the coalition and school board members. I also received async feedback from users diving into the tool. This feedback directly translated into refined and new ideas. I tried to implement every new idea and address criticisms and questions head-on. Now we'll move into the live demo portion. What you see here is the live NMC Insights application in production. It's currently hosted on my namespace on shinyapps.io and will eventually be moved under Nativity Miguel. The landing page that we see is the Instructions tab. Here we are prompted to upload our school spreadsheets for the historical school template and the coalition data, which is optional. If schools do not have a copy of the historical template, they can download one here. Then they're prompted to save the spreadsheet to their local files. They can edit it and upload it as needed. And the template really is just formatted tabs with the various historical data. The school template is also the same as the coalition template, just different data for each. So now I'll demonstrate what it would be like for an individual school to use this tool. First, they're going to browse to their historical template file. Then they can navigate across the tabs. The first tab that we have is an overview tab that talks about the Nativity Miguel model and the insights and why the data collection is important and what insights can be obtained from this data collection. The first button links to the Nativity Miguel website, an overview about what they do and their strategic plan, and the second tab links to the Nativity Miguel data website, which has the coalition data for 2021, with an overview of the current snapshot, and individual school statistics that match similarly to the historical data such as enrollment, attendance, graduation rates, post-secondary placement, and post-secondary completion. Then the schools can navigate to the individual data tabs. We have two tabs, one for graduate support and one for school data. As I click to the Graduate Support tab, the data is going to load in. Likewise for the School Data tab. And I can start to look through the data and interact and use the filters as needed. So what we see here is that I've got high school graduation rates, post-secondary placement, post-secondary completion, and career placement. This is all very important data to the Graduate Support program. Additionally, I can hover over my plot to see average lines and individual data points for a given year. I can adjust my filters to focus on a specific middle school graduating class and how they have transitioned throughout the years. And additionally, my charts and my data points are all responsive and reactive to the filters. Likewise, I can jump over to the School Data tab, which has the historical snapshot of school data for a given school year or a given middle school graduating year. All of these charts, entry to exit graduation trend, enrollment, attendance, free and reduced lunch, and IEP and accommodations are historical trends and averages. And so because of the nature of the data, a line plot felt like the best fit, with average lines to indicate the historical average. Lastly, if I jump back to my Instructions tab, I have the option of layering in historical coalition data. So I'll navigate to my historical template, and after I've uploaded it, I can navigate to the individual graduate support and school data tabs. What I'll see here is that extra data is being loaded in, along with an extra filter. And so on my line charts for the school data and one of the graduate support charts, I have this red line that shows the coalition historical data points. And I have the checkbox option to toggle that line on or off. Similarly, on the graduate support tab, because we have data broken down into different types over the last few years, I have a separate chart for the coalition to compare with the school. So you can see for post-secondary placement, post-secondary completion, and career placement, there are two charts, one for the school and one for the coalition. And once again, I can toggle the coalition data on or off. And that is the overview of the demo. Thank you. Now switching back to the presentation, I want to conclude by talking about alternative approaches. So the first idea that I have is to use even more data sources and visualization tools. I've been talking with Daniel Perez from Nativity Miguel about other data sources that they have, including financial summary data, and how they want to connect the information between the two reports, the Tableau report with the current school snapshot, and the RShiny report with the historical snapshot. And so this led to my second idea of creating a full version of the Tableau report in RShiny, which would also be a cheaper alternative for the coalition. And lastly, I would like to create a web app to store the survey results and wire this data up to the RShiny application so that it could live on permanently, and it would eliminate the need for the Excel spreadsheet. In conclusion, the real user feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. The NMC board members want to use these applications and want to collect more data. They're excited about the new direction for data-driven decisions. Also, Nativity Miguel has published these reports on their website for schools to use and have included my charts in their mission measurement report. Finally, I would love to continue working with Nativity Miguel to provide insights to support their mission. They've had several new ideas for how we can connect this data with other sources and create more visualizations, and my hope is that we can have a long-term partnership to enable them to continue making these data-driven decisions and have these applications live on in production long-term. Thank you so much.